My name is Monica Small. I'm a resident of Port St. John's, and I love the coast. I love the whole ecosystem about Port St. John's, but we need help because I can see that the coast is changing, and the people are poor. It's a rural area, obviously, and the people need training to know how to keep this place because we are one of the only places that is still green. And but everybody is cutting down trees. They don't care about what's happening to the river and stuff like that. So I'm very passionate about it. We try and teach the kids. I've been teaching in a private school for about 5 years, and I always try and teach my kids why not to throw plastics and their chip papers into the river, what it does to the fish and stuff like that. But then you actually need a lot of people to go out there and teach even the adults, because it seems like everybody doesn't understand why we must care for our ecosystem, the marine biodiversity of this place that we have. Even the fish, the types of fish that used to come out before. I'm also a fisherwoman, by the way. And we're not getting the same type of fish at the same times, where we know even the sardine run, it's not as much as it used to be and as close as it used to be to the, where we could actually get to it. So there's a whole lot of things that have changed, and obviously it's because we the people don't know how to treat the area. That is why we're losing out on a lot of things.
Do you think that climate change might have an effect on this, a global change rather than a local change? Or do
Definitely.
You think
but then we are the cause of the climate change anyway, because if you look around, a lot of people that have been here, let's say plus minus 10 years ago, just 10 years, I'm talking 10 years, and when they come here they can actually see the difference already in 10 years. I'm not talking about people that lived here years ago. They can actually see the difference as to what is going on. Even the fishermen, we are the ones that's supposed to be keeping our areas clean. When people go fishing and you get there, maybe the next day their bait boxes are thrown there and stuff like that, and not thinking that when the tide rises it gets to that area where you were fishing, so all that is getting washed into the water, so really, and I mean, we need to get the young children involved, because even themselves, they go there, they throw a line, they pull out a small fish and they're happy they caught something, and nobody has told them or taught them that, look, if you put this fish back, it's going to grow and therefore there will always be fish. So like, for example, the spotted grunter is one of the main fish. It's a nice fighting fish that we always caught on our coast. And recently, just a few people are talking about it, and we're now in the month of October. But normally here in August, around about September, you're actually supposed to be pulling them out. So they're coming out late. So that also tells you that something has changed. It's not how normally it would have been. So, yeah.
Don't you think that it's the children and the young people are the ones we should focus on, because don't children teach the adults?
Definitely, the children should be taught, because, as I say, this is a rural area, so the kids have nothing to do. But teaching them how to fish, it's like when I learned how to fish. I couldn't understand why people stand there and just throw this thing and they get excited. But when I felt that pull and I actually knew, okay, I've got something and this is how you bring it out, then I got more interested as to, okay, I want to always catch fish, so therefore I must keep this place clean, I mustn't throw this, I mustn't do that. And I started learning, and if we do that for our generation, then we're going to have a lot of children that are going to also tell adults, hey, don't throw that paper into the river, or don't throw your bottles when they have maybe beach parties or something. That's the type of thing that we want done. The youth need to learn, because they are the ones that are going to get left here. And if they don't know anything, they're just going to carry on as though it's the right thing to do, which it's not. There's fewer fish. Like we get together as fishermen and fisherwomen and we chat about who caught what, and it's just not the same like before. You can spend a whole day fishing and you'll have a few bites, and if you bring something out, it's undersized, you got to throw it back. So I know for a fact that you can speak to anybody. It's fewer fish coming out, and as the years are going, it's fewer.
Monica, tell us a little bit about the crayfish industry here.
The crayfish industry, okay, there are quite a few guys that dive for crayfish in maybe the second beach area, and then also at Boonskop, they also dive for crayfish. But then there is no market, there is no place where they can sell this crayfish, So what happens is that now this one wants to catch more than the other one because there's somebody that has maybe promised them more money per crayfish, and so it goes on. There's no place where they can say, okay, you're going to get your quota and you're going to stick to your quota that you're supposed to get, and then you'll sell it at a certain place and you will always have money. So now it's like, okay, I've got a client that wants 50 crayfish, so I'm going to go and get 50 crayfish. So what does that do? It means that now we're actually raping the coast, basically, because you're going to get 50 and sometimes it's not even the right size. But because you're prepared to go down to 5 rand, and that person comes from somewhere where crayfish is very expensive in a restaurant, they're going to take that crayfish. But it's not supposed to be even out of the water in the first place. So yeah, and the same with the fish. The same with the fish, because there's nowhere for these people to sell their fish. So they'll catch the fish, maybe take it up to Lusigi or wherever, or you get fishermen that come down to Port St. John saying they're coming fishing, but they end up buying a whole lot of fish and they're going with it. But then they're not paying the price, the people are poor, they're negotiating the price, so it goes on. It's like a wheel. That's what happens.
So it needs to be better organized?
It needs to be better organized. It needs to be better organized because the people, they grew up at the coast, most of them. They are poor. They don't have jobs. The only thing they can afford is that bit of bait, or, well, they also dig for worms, etc., etc. And they do catch, but they're also being exploited because they need the money. The poverty situation is getting worse because the families are growing, okay? And the homesteads are already that small. So everybody now, let's say you get your 18-year-old, 19-year-old that's already maybe got 2 kids, and they want to build their own room. So what happens, they just chop the tree next to the house and they build something. But then most of the people around are being helped by the social grant that they get from the government. And then, as you can see, if you come into town, you've got a whole lot of caravans and vegetable stalls. So everybody just puts a table and prays that they make something that day just to go into the shop and buy something for that day. So the people, as I say, we've got the sea here, and if they learned skills, certain skills concerning that, because not everybody can sell an apple and an orange on the street every day. If they could learn something new as to maybe have a fish market, everybody's been talking about it because they've actually got an association for the fishermen. They do have an association which they formed. And they're trying to work ways to say, okay, we are men, we're the heads of our family because it's mainly majority men. We're the heads of the families, we don't have jobs in certain areas of the community, but we can fish. But now, what do we do with the fish? Because basically the only business they're getting is the restaurants, and there's not many restaurants in any case in Port St. John's. So yeah, they need to be taught, and then maybe, because a lot of people when they come into Port St. John's, especially we get a lot of tourists, when they come into Port St. John's, it's like, wow, this place is still so green, it still has trees and stuff like that. So it's about time that we try and keep it that way, because all around us, if you look around Port St. John's, they're cutting the trees. Even if you see on the mountain, on your way to Second Beach, Mtumbane location, there's a radius that you're supposed to not build away from the coast. But the people have chopped up, and because their families have grown, and they need to build, because you can't live in a 2-room with 7 people. So yeah, if there was just a way that these people could be taught, and they love what they do, because in the rain, even if you go now today, especially today is perfect fishing weather, and there'll be people fishing, but they're going to get that fish, and most of the time they live in areas where there's no electricity, or even if they do have the government subsidized electricity, they do not have a fridge to keep this fish. So in desperation they will go and sell that fish for any amount, you know, just to say, okay, I've got that 50 rand or 70 rand to go and buy bread and something for the family. So that's how the cycle goes. So they're very poor. They are very poor. And in Port St. John's, if you don't fish, if you don't sell fruit and veg on the street, then you've got to work for the government. And that's it.
So what is the future for the children of Port St. John's?
Well, the future looks very bleak in my personal opinion, because most of them now, they leave Port St. John's. It's like there's nothing going on here, so Their parents take them away. Some of them, as soon as they reach junior school, they take them to go to Mthatha, East London, whatever, and they forget about Port St. John's. And then the only people that are here are those that know that I've got nowhere to go. So let me just carry on the life that I've been carrying on. And you'll find that even in the schools, I have a problem with the fact that the children are encouraged to be teachers, nurses, doctor, policemen. But don't they understand that these kids grew up at the sea? So therefore they could teach them something. They could become a marine biologist. There's a whole lot of things, but they are not encouraged that way. So they don't know. Myself as a teacher, I've had when I sit with my kids, maybe we're doing life orientation, and I'll ask them, okay, what would you like to be and why? And I promise you'll only find teacher, doctor, nurse, and it's not because it's the passion, it's because there's money involved. I'm going to get a salary. That is it. I'm going to be a nurse because I know my mother's a nurse and she gets paid a lot of money. And they don't even think that, okay, you can study and be a doctor of something, not just an ordinary nurse. Nobody talks about fishing, but when I spoke to them about the fishing program that I wanted to start, I could actually see the interest and then the questions, and even when we do our cleanup at, around town, and I show them the different sands. This type of sand is caused by this, etc., and the rocks, this is how they form. And then they understand, they say, okay, teacher, so can you earn money from this? And I say, yes, you can earn a lot of money, So yeah, we need to speak to the kids, mainly the kids.